How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffle Rowlett, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some Pokemon rumors, leaks, and all that kind of stuff in between. So, if you guys are ready, then let's get started. First things first, we're going to be taking a look at some of the posts over on Twitter that have been coming out from a few different people. First of all, for example, the Pokemon TCG. Well, guess what? There is a new set coming out, the Stellar Crown set, which is, I think, out on September, right? Which, the reason I'm bringing up the TCG here, and you might think to yourself, well, there's nothing to do with Legends ZA. It kind of does. See, the TCG sets release, like, every, I think, 3 months or so, like, around that range, you have a new one. And the thing about the TCG sets is that they are in line with the releases of the actual games, right? So they kind of try to line it up a little bit, you know, close to each other. Based on this is coming out in September, so our next set after that should be to, you know, end the year off. It should be around December, most likely. After that, we've ran out of stuff. We've ran out of anything Scarlet and Violet related, because Stellar Crown is supposed to represent specifically the Indigo Disc, which is the last piece of content we got for Pokemon. There is still one thing they could do, which is the Pecharunt event. You guys may remember that, like, the final episode, which included Pecharunt. They could do a whole set surrounding that particular thing. Sure, like, it's not a full DLC to base it off of, but it's at least something to use as the basis of a whole set. Like, I think you can make the argument for that. There's also been a potential leak of a Team Rocket set, which means that for, like, at least after September, you have at least 2 possible sets that could come out. One to cover Pecharunt, and one event to cover the Team Rocket stuff, which means we probably won't have any game release or anything TCG related until maybe March of next year, past March, something like that. Like, that's when we should expect something newer to actually show up. Now, the reason I bring this up and the reason I mention this is because if you actually look at the way things are going right now, that could give us a general idea of when we can expect to see the actual Legends ZA game release. And the most likely scenario would be somewhere around March, which also would coincide with the time frame when we're also expecting to see none else than Legends ZA release, which is kind of around that time frame. Like, not super early into 2025, but also not late into 2025, like somewhere around the time when the Switch 2 should be releasing. Which, speaking of the Switch 2, the successor of the original Nintendo Switch, apparently that thing should, based on, like, most people, like insiders and stuff like that, should be dropping around the same time the original Switch did, which is around March. So, pretty much that should summarize things. However, we have some other stuff to talk about, which comes to us from none else than Riddler Khu. Now, I should point out that Riddler Khu isn't necessarily the most trustworthy person in most recent time, and the reason I say this is because this man used to have a lot of information, just a lot, really a lot of information, and a lot of actual worthwhile things to share, but in recent times, it has gotten a bit rough. He hasn't been correct about too many things. Maybe that is because there is just nothing to really talk about right now, like the game, there's just nothing there. And when he was hinting at stuff, most people assumed it was supposed to be a Unova game, but that ended up not happening. So, not a lot of people trust him right now, and that's fine, but I do think it's still worthwhile to, like, look actually at what he's been saying. And what has he been saying? Well, it's the following. He says, well, getting excited for the 30th. Never thought they'd begun preparing for this early. Now, the thing is, the 30th was yesterday. If he was talking about June, that was literally yesterday, Sunday, as of me recording this. Today is the 1st of July, but basically he said something exciting for the 30th. I don't know if he's inferring here, like, specifically the 30th day of the month, or he's maybe talking about the 30th anniversary. Because keep in mind, we are going to be having the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, and that's coming up in 2026. So Pokemon 30th anniversary, that's going to be happening in 2026, if I'm not mistaken. Because let's see, in Japan, 30th is much more significant than 25. The decades matter, they aren't as big as 5s. So yeah, basically, next year, it's not the anniversary, but the year after that, 2026, is the 30-year anniversary of Pokemon, which is a big one. That's a big milestone, which means that could be something massive. And he's implying here, well, getting excited for 30th, never thought they'd begun preparing for it this early, which is interesting because that implies that he knows something about the actual 30th anniversary preparations for it, whether that's the next generation or something else about it, we don't know. He says, well, Ikaku is not VGC compatible as you may expected. Reckon other juice squeezed soon. And people are wondering, what does he mean by this? You know, like, what does he actually mean by saying this? Jordan says, yeah, no surprise. I think some people have been coping hard on that because there was no way that would have VGC. But what juice are we squeezing? Is it good juice? People have been way too thirsty now. He says, hopefully good juice. Anyways, the good thing is only half a year ahead before some people actually die of thirst. Which makes me wonder, is he trying to imply here again that, like, you know, because he says the only good thing is only one half a year ahead before some people actually die of thirst. Again, is he trying to say that we've already passed half a year? People have already survived this long, and it's going to get worse? Is there going to be even a bigger drought for Pokemon? Like, is that what he's trying to say? Because keep in mind, we literally don't know when Legends ZA is coming out. Like, we know that we're going to have news in August now. It's still a month until then, so you got all of July now of nothing, by the way. We're not going to have any actual information for the rest of this month. But at least, I'm hoping that he's trying to imply here that maybe, just maybe, we should have something, you know, at least for August. Because in August, FYI, if you guys do not know, is the Pokemon World Championship. So the Pokemon VGC Championship is happening in specifically August. And that's going to be in Hawaii. And the thing is with that is that they usually do announce actual projects and games and stuff in that time period. So there's a high chance we could get something there. There's just no guarantees. Again, it's all just really a wait right now. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And then here, somebody was asking, like, just saying they take what he says with Ocean Assault, but hope there's a limited to no online like in PLA. He says, at least we are sure it will tease something within this year, but better not expect too much. Because, yeah, again, you know, like, people are just expecting some information, but he says that apparently, based on gameplay and stuff, we should get a tease within this year. Which, again... I don't know, man. Somebody asked here, at least the starters will be shown, ? And he says, yep, their PC Pokemon Center goods were produced, which implies that the Pokemon Center goods for the actual starters for Legends ZA are already in production, is what he's saying here. And somebody asked him, like, you know, oh shit, interesting. Should we expect news before Worlds? He says, I don't expect anything and kind of looking forward to seeing the community riots. But I guess this is the weird part. I guess he's saying, I don't expect anything, kind of looking forward to seeing the community riot. So he's almost implying here that there's not going to be anything then either, I guess? Or is he trying to answer the question? Because the question is, are we going to see anything before Worlds, so the World Championship in August? But he's saying, I don't expect anything and kind of looking forward to seeing the community riot. Does he mean that he doesn't expect to see anything now in July? Or does he mean that there's not going to be anything in August either? Because that would be pretty bad. Like, that would be pretty awful. I'm not going to lie to you. That would be pretty freaking horrible. But yeah, some people are asking here, like, for example, I'm guessing we get some ZA stuff in September or October, which would be 8 to 9 months out from the hinted release date. The trailer will be similar to the most started trailers with no real gameplay, but we'll get to see the game some. He says gameplay footages are necessary for a new trailer, I think. And then some people are asking, like, no megas for VGC. He says, what about VGC in 2027? Sure, they will shine. So he's implying that 2027, the year after the Generation 10 release, which Generation 10, based on what everybody's saying right now, logically it should be out next year, Gen 10. But based on what these people are, everybody's saying right now, they're all implying that because the 30th anniversary is on the 2026, that's going to happen not next year, but the year after that. And if that's true, that means that the next World Championship should also be held in 2027, and that one might feature Megas, because Megas are in the next generation, according to him. At least that's what this makes me think, that he's trying to say. Because, yeah, that's literally what it looks like. Even like Kevin here says, does that mean Gen 10 is going to have Megas? You know, it's a weird situation, I'm not going to lie. It's a bit of an odd one. But nonetheless, though, I'd love to know what you guys think about all this. Again, Khu has been all over the place recently. He hasn't really had any concrete info. And I feel like a lot of people, and I'm probably going to see a lot of comments from you guys in the comment section down below, telling me, oh, he has no information anymore. He's pointless, which, fair enough. I mean, he hasn't really provided anything in recent times. Whether that has to do with him not having a source anymore, or his source not having information, or it could literally be the simple fact that there just is nothing to talk about right now. Like, there just isn't any information coming out. There's just nothing that has been worthwhile to leak. And also, keep in mind, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company will increase their security when it comes to leaks further and further. Now, I personally don't like that. I like talking about leaks. I think it's fun. I don't think it necessarily takes away anything from the actual experience of the games. And the games still sell incredibly well. Okay, I mean, Scarlet and Violet, as well as Sword and Shield, were massively leaked. There was insane leaks for them. Sword and Shield, bigger even, I would say, than actually Scarlet and Violet. And guess what? Sword and Shield were still some of the best-selling games on the Nintendo Switch. Outsold many previous generations. I think they even outsold X and Y, Sun and Moon. Outsold a lot of previous gens from the previous era. Point being that I don't think it's necessary for them to have to, like, hide away leaks and stuff like that and be super, 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 super rough with it. Because honestly, it's just a promotional vehicle. People seeing leaks and stuff, it actually encourages them more to want to be invested in something. And then the more invested they are, the more likely they are to buy it, and the more they are likely to stay invested further in your franchise. etc., etc. But let's leave that at where it is, and let's move on to the next thing, which is the rumor for today, guys. So we do have a rumor post, which I think is going to be interesting. So it starts off, and this was posted by this guy, and he just labels it at August with a Z instead of a regular S. It's from Anonymous, and this is posted on the 26th of last month, so I haven't covered this one yet. But he says, not Chinese source is though. So I guess he's saying that he himself doesn't speak Chinese or Mandarin of any sorts. But what he does say though is the following, which is first half of August Pokemon presentation. Makes sense. That's when Pokemon Worlds is, so it makes sense that that's when we would actually get something. Hoping to God. I'm praying that we will actually get some information. He says that apparently there's going to be new drops for Cafe, Unite, and Masters. That implying there's going to be new updates for Pokemon Cafe Remix, as well as Pokemon Unite and Pokemon Masters EX. That all three of those games, which they always do get information. It's nothing too crazy necessarily. It happens all the time. So nothing there that's necessarily sticking out in the wrong way. He says Pokemon Pinball and Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire will come to the Switch Online alongside the presentation. That seems highly possible. That doesn't seem that crazy. Those two have actually been hinted already in some data mined leaks, I think, of sorts that happened for the Switch Online service a while back. So that also makes sense. He says Pokemon TCG Pocket will release this fall. Ooh, okay. Because that game is coming out this year. Remember, that Pokemon TCG Pocket is a game that most people have simply forgotten about. Like, just literally forgotten about. But Pokemon TCG Pocket is supposed to also come out this year. Let's see, Pokemon TCG Pocket. Let's see if there's, like, I don't know if they made a whole account. They did. So they do have a whole account for it. This game is coming out this year. Remember, like, it was announced for this year. Like, if we go to the website here, and you look it up, right? Coming in 2024 to iOS and Android devices is Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. Again, 2024. So it is this year. Question, though, is when and how will we see it and when will it be shown? Well, it would make sense, like he says here, that TCG Pocket will be shown off now and released this fall. Fall would land anywhere between, what? I guess October till even, like, beginning of December. That's any time frame where they could release it, because that's still in 2024. So in that time frame, anything's possible. He says apparently that new Team Rocket card set revealed. So yes, there has been a literal data mine leak thingy that came out of a new TCG set, and it was supposed to be Team Rocket themed. He says that Dark Pokemon cards return, which does make sense. That is something that wouldn't be that crazy. Again, they have done re-releases of old sets, or like old sets, but like kind of recreating them for today. Evolutions is a good example of that. He says special Giovanni Persian card exclusive to early TCG Pocket players. Ooh, that sounds nice. He says XYZ Legends join Pokemon Sleep. So that would be, I guess, Zygarde, Xerneas, and Yveltal will be joining Pokemon Sleep. Again, seems reasonable, doesn't seem that crazy. He says Pokemon Horizons Mega Saga trailer ends teasing a new Mega, but no implication of who it may be. Interesting. That would actually be really cool. So you're saying the Mega Saga would begin, which I guess would be a continuation of Pokemon Horizons, instead of ending that with whatever's happening currently in the show. Instead, continuing it with a whole part of it that just has more to do with Mega Evolution, which would make sense with ZA, because remember, ZA is still part of this generation. ZA is not Generation 10. It's still a Gen 9 game. It's still part of the Scarlet and Violet generation line, right? So it would make sense. However, moving on though, he says Paradox Pokemon Invasion event in Pokemon Go, matching raids for Scarlet and Violet. So Paradox Pokemon invasions, okay. Again, not that crazy. Pokemon Go having, Paradox Pokemon would make sense, and would be about time. We're also waiting for the Dynamax and Gigantamax stuff to show up in that game, so again, nothing too crazy. Sounds reasonable. Moving on, though. The final segment is a brief ZA overview. Ooh, okay, this sounds nice. Mostly cinematic, but a few flashes of gameplay. Again, sounds reasonable. Them having a segment that doesn't even show us a lot of gameplay just sounds like what we're used to. Mostly being cinematic, again, sounds like what they would do. I mean, we didn't get anything from the actual teaser trailer. The first reveal didn't show us anything. It's apparently set more than a century after the events of X and Y. So apparently this is set in the future, I guess, past, the future after the X and Y events. Quasar was founded shortly after X and Y and has been researching integration of Pokemon into society. Doesn't sound that crazy. Again, it sounds relatively reasonable in terms of what it's saying. Moving on, though, it says that Quasar, director, looks like a female Colress. Again, I'm not that surprised. We're gonna see, again, keep in mind, this is a Legends game, and Legends Arceus already had this whole thing with a bunch of, relatives to previous characters. Like, I'm expecting to see a lot of that in this game, right? Like, no matter if the game is set in the future or the past, doesn't really matter. I'm still expecting to see a lot of relatives to other characters making an appearance. So that makes sense. He says, mysterious energy activity is happening all around Lumios City. Okay. Professor wants you to join Quasar and investigate. Stardust is a... Wait, ooh, okay. So apparently mysterious energy... Okay, so different event, like different energy activity is kind of lurking around the region. And basically, the professor wants you to join Quasar and investigate. He says this, the starter is a Zygarde core, who the professor has been using to study this energy, and he thinks it will be the key to solving the mystery. I don't know, Chief. I don't know. I think they want to make sure they have triple starters, and based on what Khu said in the previous post there, it does seem like they're gonna make sure that they have the triple starters. Like that's an iconic Pokemon thing that I don't think they're gonna want to get away from. So I doubt that. I really doubt that. But apparently default player designs both resemble Lysander, and only one is shown on screen at a time. But a lot of customization is shown in the gameplay flashes. Okay. Thin teal Walrein player rides like jet ski and has tusks wrapped around as a handlebars. Okay, so that would be a random version of a Walrein. Okay. Players shown riding a purple phalanx through the city's skyline like a skateboard before returning it to its ball and landing on a rooftop. No footage or mention of Mega Evolution, but some Mega recipients like Kangaskhan and Salamence are seen in the segments of gameplay. Final shot is perfect. Zygarde standing on top of the prison tower, arms crossed, and some kind of colorful storm behind it. Fair enough. And then releasing summer 2025. That's all. I plan to post again in January, not my words, and the conversation wasn't had in English. Ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much summarizes that. So yeah, that pretty much summarizes that whole post. There's not really much else to mention. I mean, let's talk about some of the highlights here. For example, saying that it's planned to, releasing in summer 2025. So summer 2025 would be what? Anywhere between June and all the way until like end of September almost. Beginning of September. What am I saying? So that time frame, which honestly wouldn't be that crazy. As long as this game doesn't come out in... as long as it doesn't come out in November, dude. Because I don't want to wait a whole freaking year longer for this game. That's just long, okay? It's just really dragged out. Plus, it's about time we get to the next gen. Like, I think a lot of people, especially, like, if you are from the VGC, specifically group of people who play for the VGC, and, you play competitively, you're going to get pretty bored of Scarlet and Violet after a while. Like, it's going to become very tedious doing the same thing over and over again before, you kind of run out of anything to really do. Also, already Scarlet and Violet are kind of tiresome to play. Like, you've already kind of done everything you can do in the games. All we get now is the raid events, and it's mostly the same ones all the time. I mean, we'd have a few varieties, but it hasn't really changed much. Let's put it like that. It hasn't really changed much. So I really just hope, okay, from the bottom of my heart, I really just hope that we will see some improvements or some actual information about this very soon, because it's getting really tedious now. The rest of the post, though, saying that he's going to be posting again in January, is interesting. That's all. I'm planning to post again in January, not my words, and the conversation wasn't had in English. So yeah, some of the stuff could be misinterpreted if this is a real post, as it is not like this dude's native language that it was originally sent to him. And again, I don't know. A lot of this sounds realistic. Like, this rumor, out of any other rumor I've read so far, this is one of the top ones up there. Like, I've read a few, and there's been a few I've covered recently, which genuinely sound pretty top-notch, and I think I'm going to put this one up there with them as well. It does have a lot of stuff that genuinely does sound pretty good. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for today. Thank you all for watching. I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. If you guys did enjoy it, of course, as per usual, drop a like. Make sure to subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to, honestly, you don't have to. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, and bye-bye.